Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a very, very wet Hungaroring circuit here for round 7 of the Raceface.Pro GT3 Pro division. And absolutely tremendous to be here, but with the weather not in the best of parts, it's going to be a very interesting race nonetheless. Bit of up and down for many of our drivers to figure out what they need to do to ensure they hold the top spot here at this beautiful circuit of Hungaroring. That being said, lots and lots is on the line for drivers to really get the climb up, score those very, very valuable points before the end of the season. And that is where life is about to get very, very interesting for a number of our competitors as the championships are getting closer and closer. Big, big welcome to all, and we're in for an exciting treat nonetheless. That being said, Hungaroring does provide its own little bit of difficulties with the wet now coming into play, and you can see the rooster tail kicking off the back of Luke Lucchese's car as he tries to build up some temperature into his tires before getting ready for qualifying. So we've got Luke Lucchese out on track while we're letting our timing screen pull through. There we go. We've got Bradley Searle, who is out in the 296 Ferrari. Willem Buerta a little bit further back, RDSA driver, hoping to get a little bit more of a climb. Justin Eloff rejoining into the fight with Sergei Sarkov, Yasin Ishmael, Jacques Eva. A little bit further back, our Rhino Utility, one of our partners here at Raceface.Pro. Jukka van der Lith, a little bit further back, also in the Rhino Utility colours, with Jurien Pissoit, Bert Gildenaes, Gerald Ferry, Byron Mitchell, along with Paul Gerber, Willem Pienaar, Julian Familiaris, and Werner Schumann. For anyone that doesn't know, Julian Familiaris pulled the heist of a century going back to Hockenheim and looking to do exactly that again with his car. But while we got championship point, while we've got some time, let's take a quick look at the championship standings, get an understanding of where things are in the race. It seems like it doesn't want to pull up for some reason, but it's fine. We'll go with that. Willem Buerta, though, will look to make his running order and ensure that he keeps the climb up through the running pack, and hoping that he's going to gain just enough time to ensure he stays in for the fight. So much to do, so little time is going to be, many are saying, as the sun starts to come back, as the drizzle starts to set. And now this is where your setups do come into play. Who's going to have the most amount of grip? Who's going to be able to set those times? And track is starting to form a bit of a dry line for our drivers out there to put in their top lap time. So far, a 2:03.2 by Willem Buerta leads out the pack with Justin Eloff only 0.074 seconds behind. Luke Lucchese running in third. Jukka van der Lith a little bit further back. Gerald Ferry, Yasin Ishmael, and Jacques Eva are currently the only drivers that have been able to set a lap. Bradley Searle, Sergei Sarkov, Jurien Pissoit, Bert Gildenaes, Byron Mitchell, Paul Gerber, Willem Pienaar, Julian Familiaris, and Werner Schumann are yet to put a time out on the board, especially with the track conditions now starting to get a bit better, maybe thinking it through and rather going out a little bit later, or just not able to get those times in. Luke Lucchese comes across the line with a 2:01.7. Bradley Searle comes in with a 2:07.385 to lock in that 5th place. Jacques Eva immediately also going in, improving his lap time at 2:06 as the water starts to come down yet again. Every time you think you're in for a win, it starts to pour down that little bit more, and drivers are going to have to compete with it nonetheless as they fight on in these treacherous conditions for the likes of the Raceface.Pro GT3 Endurance, or the GT3 Sprint Series here on iRacing. A couple of drivers still out. Jurien Pissoit yet to put a time on the board. Bert Gildenaes, Byron Mitchell, Paul Gerber, Willem Pienaar, Werner Schumann. Each of them having to figure out what they need to do. Werner eventually puts time on the board and getting that 4th place at 2:04.8 to ensure he tries to lock in some position at the moment. Luke Lucchese, Willem Buerta into the pits. Justin Eloff trying to improve his time and really hoping to get any bit of moments before As we take a look to the points, we've got Yuriompi Swart with 297 points. Justin Elof is on 273. Julian Familiaris running in third with 268. Luke Lucchesi with 265. Sean Straden, Bert Kiltness, Bego Krubler chased down. Bradley Searle in 8th. 9th place is Ryan Ottens, Werner Swart, Jakob van der Lith, Yasin Ismail, Sergei Sarkov, Sharks Ever, Werner Skuman, Paul Herbert, Robin Bricknick, Yaz Samai, as we go down the list. All in for the championship points. Johnson van Alswagen, Byron Mitchell, Noah Hendricks, Nico Killerman, and Willem Buerta are our rounding pack for that. And we just hope to see who will be able to claw their way a little bit further, as Luke Lucchesi still holds the top spot. Is it going to be enough, though? Justin Elof trying to improve his time as he comes across the line and just not able to go and put in a better time. But very, very close. It's 0.022 to Willem Buerta. Now just trying to slow the car down. Werner Skuman's going to be happy locking down that 4th place in the second row, but will be going and keeping ahead of Jakob van der Lith, who's been on a bit of a climb for the Rhino Utility team. They've been working frantically on the cars, trying to improve them and get them running a little bit better, finding out more mechanical grip as they went on. So the Rhino Utility team going and utilizing a bit of hydropower at this point to keep themselves going. Big shout out to Rhino Utility. Willem Buerta holds 2nd place, and Jakob van der Lith goes and puts himself into 4th. But take a look at Werner Skuman, puts himself immediately into 2nd place for the Pandacity Esports, the Angry Panda team, going and getting a 203. So good to see a big, big improvement from his side. Willem Buerta will come across the line. Can he do enough to jump his way up through the order? Unfortunately not. Will hold on to that 3rd place. Gerald Ferree making his way through this very, very technical circuit. Unfortunately runs out of time. And that is going to be a tough one for many to swallow, especially here at the beautiful circuit of the Hungaroring. And with conditions changing in and out continuously, but is still very hot. You expect to see a dry line start to form rather quickly, but also many of the teams will be looking to the skies saying, what do they need to do to ensure they stay on top? What is going to be the main idea for our grid? Let's take a look at who is where. Luke Lucchesi, Werner Skuman, Willem Buerta, Justin Elof, Jakob van der Lith, Gerald Ferree, Yasin Ismail, Julian Familiaris, Sergei Sarkov, Jacques Evan, Paul Herber, with Yuriompi Swart are our top 12, looking to get the jump off the line. And let's see if they will be able to continue that on. So the drivers will line themselves up. Unfortunately, many drivers weren't able to get a time on the board. We'll be starting a little bit further back. So, lots of contention, lots of wondering, and who's going to be able to get the jump off the line here at the beautiful Hungaroring. And our timing tower is still landing up with odd glitches. Do apologize for that. I'll get it resolved in 2 ticks. It's always fun. Technical glitches like these. Refire everything up. Big thank you to Tim working in the background to give us all the shots and our technical know-hows at this beautiful circuit. Rolling start for our drivers as they will be making their way behind the Porsche safety car and the oldest safety cars here in iRacing. Noah Hendricks watching in from the virtual grandstands, not on the track this evening, but good to see him. Good to see the support out there. Alessandro and Chris also going and giving in a bit of support to the drivers. It is going to be a Porsche 1-4 that leads out the pack, with the likes of the Ferrari, Jakob van der Lith, Julian Familiaris in the Ford, Yasin Ismail in the Ferrari, all looking to clamor on and fight it out. Luke Lucchesi knows what he needs to do to try and keep Justin at bay. Justin, who nearly grabbed his podium at Hockenheim, will now need to do it all again, lining up in 2nd place. Lights on, lights on, lights on, and we're waiting to go. Come on, come on, come on. Lights on and lights off. We are racing with Luke Lucchesi trying to get the jump off the line. Absolutely bolting it. First out to try and get round the pack as quick as possible. He's going to have to close the door off to the likes of Justin Eloff. He's going to battle him out. Goes around the outside. Willem Buert's going to put his nose in, see if he can get on by. Late on the anchors. 3 wide. Ooh, a little bit of a touch. A little bit of an upset. But he's able to recover the car. Jaco van der Lith is going to make short work of him in the straight line. That's going to also allow Gerald Ferree to spray, getting a bit hectic for our competitors to deal with. Yuriompi starts right behind Willem Buerta. Will also try and put his Honda right into the pack and see where he can get that little bit of an advantage. But Gerald Ferree says, no thank you, not going to happen there. Keeps his power down. Oh, that is Julian Familiaris. And looks like that might have been... No, sorry, that is Sergei Sarkov that's gone and lost the Mustang. Lost the rear of it, and it was downhill from there as our leader, Luke Lucchesi, starts to power on, getting away from Justin Eloff. Jaco van der Lith is battling desperately with Willem Buerta all around him. Gerald Ferree, Yuriompi Swart, and Jacques Ever trying to make his way around. Bradley Searle lying out. Nath has got Paul Herber, Byron Mitchell onto his tail in the McLaren. Oh, sorry, in the Merc, and loses the rear as he outbrakes himself behind Paul Herber, saves it, but losing out that time. Werner Schumann trying to make his way back into the pack after such a good qualifying. He's down the positions. Sergei Sarkov trying to get going. Yasin Ismail in the wall, and that is Bert Kildenace, who's also lost into the dirt. Julian Familiaris trying to get himself going, and it looks like we may have lost Willem Pienaar. So a couple of drivers, unfortunately, having tricky conditions as Bradley goes for a loop-de-loop and loses out of possession. And a couple, even to his own teammate. So Bradley now having to try and recover. Werner Schumann's going to say thank you very much and continue on his drive of recovery. Willem Buerta, however, is going onto the back of Jaco van der Lith, trying to see where exactly can he get by as the spray kicks up from these cars, just making life a little bit more difficult for every single one of the drivers. Late on the brakes, looks for the inside line, just not enough to get his nose in to upset the Ferrari. And we'll have to wait just a fraction longer at this point as we jump on board. And this is Willem Buerta, and you can see trying to stay away from the spray as much as possible as he all gets kicked up by the cars ahead. Makes things rather tricky to spot your brake markers. And one thing I can say, they've really worked hard on these cars, but got a fantastic run out to the corner and gains a position, gets past Jaco van der Lith, goes for the defense and manages to keep it, runs a little bit wide. We'll have to see how it all goes there. We are getting notifications that there's a couple of issues happening. This is Yasin Ismail. What on earth happened to him? Trying to get the Ferrari up and going. Oh, just loses the rear underneath him and into the wall. We also do have another one. This is Julian Familiaris by the looks of it, getting caught out. Wanda feeling the same pressure, the rear just lighting up underneath him, drifting the car around and stopping just in front of Yasin. So not quite the easy run there. Yasin trying to get himself going, also landed up, just losing out the rear. All the drivers just having a tough time to keep it all together in these difficult conditions. Jaco van der Lith getting the pass past Gerald Ferree. And we'll look to try and close up, make up some time as Gerald Ferree will wait around to see what can go on. Yuriompi Swart. This is a 45-minute race that does require a single pit stop that needs to be done. So many of the drivers and teams will be opting to rather wait it out at this point to see how the track is going to develop. Is it going to stay wet? Are we going to go for dry? What is going to work here? It's a very fine at the moment for a lot of these drivers, and it's going to get rather sketchy where it's too hot for the wet tires, but at the same time you are battling. As we do see a bit of a battle. Gerald Ferree goes up on the inside of Jaco van der Lith, who has to back out of it and now gets back into the toe. So we are starting to see little openings up in the field as drivers figure out what they need to do. Werner Schumann starting to lose a bit of time to Bradley Searle, who is on the back of him. So Bradley's trying everything he can to catch up to his teammate. Byron Mitchell, however, wants to try and keep the Merc at bay, and really with it snapping around underneath him, he's having to really hold on tooth and nail. You can see sliding the car, just battling to find any bit of traction possible as they fight their way through. Question is, has everyone darted to wet weather tires, or have they gone to slicks? Because it does look like they're really battling for any form of grip out there. And a good show of it is Paul Herbo is getting past all the debris. They will get lots and lots of warnings about that from the earlier cars, but the tires is what I'm very, very interested in, to see who's gone for it. So they're all on wets by our system showing, but all just trying to run as quick as possible, not turning their ABS up, not turning a TC up. They are concentrating on just maximizing pace. Side by side, Byron Mitchell's got the inside line, will get the pass done, and Paul Herber will get right onto the back of him. Unfortunately, not able to get by, as we are getting reports a little bit further up ahead of Jaco van der Lith, who we see is actually off circuit. Jaco van der Lith going and landing up into the dirt, probably losing that rear. He's able to bring it back, but loses out to his teammate Jacques Eva, who is now chasing down the likes of Jurion Piswart, one of our championship contenders. Will have to keep going, but the quickest person on the track at the moment is Willem Buerta. Don't take it away from him. Doing a fantastic time out there and really trying to increase his pace. But Just Nieloff also putting in a seriously good time. He's trying to figure out how to get any bit of momentum out of the car. Our front pack doing 201s. From Gerald Ferry onwards, they're doing 202s, 204s. So it is starting to show that the front Porsches are just geared up that little bit better for these conditions. But how long can they keep it going for? 45 minutes, what's going to be the game plan here? As we do see a spinner, and that's Werner Skuman losing the rear. Oh, contact between Byron Mitchell and the likes of Jaco van der Lith. Byron landing up in the wall, trying to reverse, cars avoiding like no tomorrow. But there is the very, very damaged car of Jaco van der Lith, who is now trying to keep himself all in check, missing the entire front end, no steering, gonna go off circuit. He's gonna have to get that car sorted out in pit lane. That little bit of a clip on the rear landed up with a knock to the wall, and unfortunately that has put to bed on how his race is gonna go. A pit stop now is for a quick repair, get the car sorted out, and then get going once again. But it also puts you on the back foot of what your tire choices are. You best hope that these conditions stay as they are for the wet tires. Otherwise, you're going to be really asking for it. Byron Mitchell still battling to keep that car in check as he fights it through. So a couple of drivers just not finding their feet here in these very, very... Oh, it's kind of in between wet and damp at the moment. The conditions still incredibly warm. And Luke Lucchesi is starting to show that it's getting better and better, doing a 2-minute. Justin Nieloff for the 201. And Willem Buerta and Gerald Ferry going and improving their personal best this round. Jurion Piswart, Jacques Eva, all going and improving their personal best. So they are trying everything they can to keep going. Jurion Piswart will see Jacques Eva on the back of him. Jaco van der Lith will be radioing into his teammates saying, listen, I have damage, a severe amount of it, and I'm not going to be a contender at the moment. Just trying to keep myself going at this point as he chases down Bradley Silva. Has not pitted, so opting to rather try run it that little bit further into the race, despite having all the damage on the car. He's going to really push on, which is absolutely, well, it's a bit mental to do so, but going to strategy-wise, it may be the only course that he has to move forward. Byron Mitchell still going off circuit, multiple reports of it, where he keeps dropping a wheel off the track, battling to get traction onto his car, and not having an easy time out there. So really does show. Oh, and there is the big impact. Byron Mitchell off circuit, clips the wall, and there's the damage to the front end, which he's going to need to go and get a fair amount of repair work done to the car to be able to carry on. The Durant Motorsport team going to be really reeling after that one, and after that monster impact. They just really trying to bring it back home at this point. Sliding it around, just not finding the grip he needs to keep going. Yasin still out on circuit. He is the last of the runners at the moment, but is starting to make a bit of time to gain up to these two. Bert Gildenaes and Julian Familiaris, who are going at it with Gildenaes in the Porsche, that 469, really trying to get onto the drive of Julian Familiaris just ahead of him. Couldn't quite get that drive. We are getting reports that Bradley Searle, unfortunately, landing up with a bit of a problem. And let's see how this has all worked out. Beautiful livery on the car, I have to admit. But, oh, the rear just stepping out. And he's able to save it, but only just, showing some of the battle scars from earlier on. As we do see the likes of our Rhino utility going out of shape. Did have a pass for Paul Gerber and Jaco and Jacques Eva. So Paul Gerber gets up on the inside, gets the power down early. And Jacques, no answer to it, unfortunately, losing out a lot of time there. So Jaco van der Lith still going. Jacques now trying to regain some time to the likes of Paul Gerber just ahead of him. Will absolutely put the hammer down as fast as possible as time starts to tick away at this point. But that spray is getting a little bit less. It's getting actually quite noticeably less out on the circuit. Not going and giving a big problem. Oh, you speak of the devil there. You get it. Paul Gerber going and running into the bit of a problem. Has the rear turn out underneath him and lands up, going around and round and round, having to deal with that. Bradley trying to get some positions back. Sees Jaco van der Lith, the walking wounded at this point. Try and figure out where he can go. Noah Hendricks going and even saying that the Brollies are out just in case for any further rain at this point. But with 34 degrees track temperature, I think the rain is gone away. But the spray is not going to be here to stay towards the end of the race. It is getting a little bit less unless we do have a change of conditions mid-race, which is a possibility, might I add. And many of the drivers are keeping a very close eye on. Bert Gildenaes still battling Julian Familiaris on the back as they gain a bit of time, but it is going to be Luke Lucchesi with Justin Eloff running in second place. Justin running the fastest lap time of the race of a 2-minute 0.1, so close to the back of him. And then we got Willem Buerta keeping it nice and consistent for the RDSA drivers and really trying to keep his foot onto the power. Gerald Ferry, Yuri Umpi-Swart trying to make up some time. Jacques Ever runs in 6th with Paul Gerber after his mistake, trying to recover in 7th with Bradley Searle trying to chase him up at this point. Jaco van der Lith feeling the pressure from Sergei Sarkov. Straight line, this is going to be a no-win fight. But saying that, late on the anchors for Jaco van der Lith. Can he keep going? Oh no, we do have Bradley going and losing the rear into turn 1. Couldn't quite keep it in track. He's able to get the car turned round, but is going to be losing out a lot of time to these two. So Bradley not only loses that, he loses out to Byron Mitchell, who gets a pass done and dusted. As we do see Sergei Sarkov around the outside, gets the pass done. Jaco van der Lith will taper in behind. Byron Mitchell now looks to try and carve up another charging effort. Bradley Searle, hoping to come back from his spin, is now right into the clutches of his own driver, Werner Skuman, out on circuit. And Werner, not holding anything back at this point, is trying his best to move up. And absolutely phenomenal stuff to see the likes of our drivers really moving their way forward, seeing where they need to be and how hard do they need to push. Julian Familiaris and Bert Gildenaes still going at it yet again. 0.3 of a second between these two and not having any room for error. But we do see the leaders in shot starting to get a little bit closer, and it's going to make things rather difficult for our drivers to go and contend with. So it all starts to wander back as we jump on board with Julian Familiaris trying to get any bit of momentum. You can see the track is starting to dry up from his view. He's searching to just try and keep a little bit of grip on the car and ensure that he stays in check. But with the likes of Bert Gildenaes all over the back of him, he's going to have to really work hard here to get himself going. Luke Lucchesi, on the other hand, will look to try and make short work of them as he doesn't want to fall too much into the clutches of Justin Eloff. He's opened up that 2.3 second gap, but it's only just as Willem Buerta also going and keeping rather consistent in his times. Gotta say, one of those ones that you've got to be very careful of. Been chipping away slowly but surely, making a bit of an impact on the rest of the drivers, figuring out what's going to work for him, how are they going to move forward, and who is he going to be able to get ahead of. And that is going to be the very, very big question for the likes of our drivers, especially when it comes to those monster pit stops. Do you see a couple of covers coming in as we take a look to Willem Botha continuing on his drive. So far, big open gaps between drivers. Bar likes of Bradley Searle, who's still going and chasing down Byron Mitchell, who is braking with a broken front nose. Is a couple of cars showing that bit of damage. The rear wing of Bradley Searle's car, the front nose of Byron Mitchell, the no-nose of Jakob van der Lith, who's still going and battling his way around the circuit. So it does have a little bit of issues around to try and keep going, but they do have fast repairs, they do have spares in the pit lane that they will be able to bolt on during their pit stop, be able to get back out on circuit and continue on their race. But it's how far can you keep going? What is the weather conditions going to do? Are we going to see people going and pitting on the 20-minute mark as we've seen of the past, or are they going to continue on that little bit further, try and go and aim for those, I would say, 25 minutes, 40-minute mark, as we do see Byron Mitchell very wide line, very karting lines, just onto the puddles. He put the power down, diving towards pit lane, so he's getting clear out the way of any issues. Will serve his pit stop and also try and gain some time. That's going to allow a couple of drivers to make their way around, like Bradley. Jakob van der Lith is now starting to stretch his legs. Werner Skuman will be next to gain a position as he gets on by Julian Familiaris. Bert Kildenace, unfortunately, a little bit too far back, and Yassine Ismail as well. Byron Mitchell now hitting up onto those jacks, going for a tyre change, get himself sorted, and back up and going. So, a couple of drivers still battling out there. We are getting reports about Werner Skuman, though. Yellow flags for Werner Skuman. What on earth has happened to the Ferrari driver, the Pandassi driver, team captain? Well, he's just going and hooking a bit of a spin there. Gets on the power a little bit too early, trying to move his way back. Nice and gently. Don't get beached on the curb. And he's able to get going yet again. So just having that rear coming out underneath him as he eases onto the power, has lost him a fair amount of time. Bert Kildenace, one of our closest fights up against Julian Familiaris, as Julian tries to defend and hold his line, but the Mustang really not cooperating with him this time around, as he was a dominating run in the previous. This time, though, definitely not having the best time in the world. Sergei Sarkov. Oh, Sergei turned around and not having an easy time out there. What on earth happened to Sergei Sarkov? Let's quickly take a look. Oh, the rear just steps out underneath him, keeps it out of the wall, and here comes the field, just getting on by, absolutely gutting. But keeping an eye on his mirrors, keeping an eye on the relative, and waiting for the all clear from the team to be able to get himself up and going. Gently feeds on the power to rejoin the battles, and will carry on. Byron Mitchell, on the other hand, we are getting reports for him. He's gone out very, very wide, and just has the rear get upset as he jumps over the curb, locking those brakes, really throwing the car around. Unfortunately, bottoming the car out and not having an easy time out there. So Byron Mitchell really going and feeling the pain at this point. One of the drivers that's done rather well in rain races this time round. Not so easy, as we do see, but it moves going on for the likes of Bert Kildenace and Julian Familiaris as they battle their way through. A couple of questions coming through from our likes of our virtual grandstands. And taking a look, Byron Mitchell's actually put himself on dries. That's a peculiar one, but that's not quite the question that's coming through. We do have questions about the Pro-Ams. The Pro-Ams will be coming through, so keep an eye locked onto the channel don't miss out. The proams will be shown. Oh, is Byron Mitchell getting fishtailing all over the show. And Bert Hildenace up on the inside, trying to figure out how he can get on by. Not too easy, not too comfortable. We'll have to figure out the next part. And one of the teams that was lurking around, was actually quite a strong team, was the Slowpokes Racing. And I have to agree, it's one of the teams that was around a lot during the course, the early stages, and unfortunately seem to have tapered off a little bit. Hopefully we'll be back in due course. Slowpokes Racing worked in association with the likes of Raceface.Pro and have done really well. They had a competitive racing offline during our December period where we were offline. Had some great racing there, but unfortunately haven't seen them for a long time. Don't even think I see their Discord anymore, to be honest. Byron Mitchell into the pits again to get himself sorted out, and I do think that's to try and switch out on into wet weather tyres, as many of the drivers will be considering that fact. As Bert Hildenace going and mining out the way, lets Luke Lucchesi come on by. Julian Familiaris is going to have to deal with him, and Julian actually runs out wide. He's not, sorry, that's Luke Lucchesi runs out wide. Julian trying to hold his line, will continue on the fight, but with Bert Hildenace, he's trying to let Luke Lucchesi get on by without compromising too much time. Does let him go, and now the eyes are going to be set. Who's going to be able to make that back a little bit of time? Bert Hildenace, however, will be able to keep into the slipstream, pull himself along, get into the fight yet again with Julian Familiaris, who's going to relinquish that spot as well, as Yasin Ishmael goes and gains a position because Byron Mitchell still in pit lane. Byron Mitchell going and waiting out. We are getting reports, though, that Paul Herber had a little bit of misfortune. And let's quickly take a look to the Team Triad Racing McLaren. And clips the curb. He's okay. Oh, never mind. Under braking. Kicks a rear out. McLaren just saying no thank you. And unfortunately, not having the best traction out there. Bit of a Lando Norris moment. That's at least not a Oscar Piastri off the circuit in Australia moment. But definitely not having a good time out there to keep themselves going. Sergei Sarkov also going and landing up. Bradley having a problem and also landing up in pit lane. So what happened to Bradley? He was chasing down Jakob van Lith. We are getting multiple reports of what's happening. Oh, just tank slapper loses the rear, and oh, massive impact to the rear of the car. And that is 1 second-hand Ferrari for Bradley, who then had to get himself towed. Sergei Sarkov had brought out yellow flags as well. We take a look at the replay. Under braking, trying to get the car sorted out, locking the sides. Oh, and just has the rear stepping out. Is able to save it, but immediately stuck in the middle of the circuit. Makes it rather uncomfortable for not only himself, but the drivers trying to make their way through. So many of the drivers starting to feel the pain at this point of who is going to be able to keep going. Everyone's still sticking onto wets, and does look like no one's going to try their luck up on the inside, though. Bert Hildenace, oh, a little bit of a touch, a little bit of a rub, but well done, held by both to keep themselves going, as Julian Familiaris keeps his line and ensures that he holds the good lap. So great to see a couple of the drivers going and figuring out what they need to do to keep going, but also how long can they keep going around on these set of tires before they need to come to a stop. And that is going to be the running question. So far, the ones that have done stops is Werner Skuman, Jakob van Lith, Julian Familiaris, Bert Hildenace, Yasin Ishmael, and Bradley Sill. But it does look like Byron Mitchell has retired the car after being put onto dry tires. He's opted not to go out and will wait it out. But Werner Skuman leading out those that have done their first pit stop. Well done, their only pit stop. You have to pit once. But Sergei Sarkov still needs to do it. Paul Gerber, Jean Xavier Longs with Yuriam Pissoir, Gerald Ferry, Willem Buerta, Justin Elof, Luke Lucchesi. And Luke Lucchesi putting in those quicker lap times, now down into the 1 minute 59.4. This tells me the track is starting to dry out significantly at this point as they continue on the drive and really looking to try and keep that bit of a climb on the way through. we are getting reports another spinner seems to be the likes of Paul Gerber. Paul Gerber landing up with a bit of a problem as Bradley Searle coming out of pit lane. But this is Paul Gerber. Did the McLaren kick up? Yep. Oh, just loses those rears. It's in this very, very greasy stage at the moment. And for anyone that has driven on these type of transitions here on iRacing, this greasy condition is always such a nightmare to play with, to try and figure out what you need to do, whether to take dries, whether to take wets. Is it too wet to go and put on those dries? Is it now getting too hot that you're starting to burn out those wet weather tires and you start battling your whole way through? And many of the drivers are going to be starting to consider the factors of how are they going to keep going. Are they carrying on with these wet weather tires? Are they going to switch to dries? Bradley has opted to, he's going to go and test the dries out. And so far, it's turning into a bit of a run for him as multiple yellow flags have kicked up as he tries to keep it all in order. So Bradley trying to keep himself out there, really focus on the charge, and we'll see how it goes. So Luke Lucchesi, after 26 minutes, will continue on the race with Justin Eloff trying to close him down. Willem Buerta, Gerald Ferree in fourth, Jurien Piswart, Paul Gerber going and getting the pass on Jacques Ever, who seems to have disconnected. We may have just lost Jacques Ever. And timing reports are battling there for him. Sergei Sarkov is in ninth, Jakob van Lith as well. So it looks like both of our Rhino utility vehicles are disconnected. Julian Familiar is still fighting out with Bert Kildeness. I think these two are getting sick and tired of seeing each other's brake lights. And Bradley Searle, a little bit further down in 13th, the only driver that has gone to dries and is still out on the track, then will be the measuring stick for many of the drivers on how far they're willing to go. So we do see Bradley now trying to get any bit of pace out of the car. Yassine Ismail running, but it does look like we have lost a few cars. Gerard Ferree coming out pit lane will try and get ahead of Paul Gerber in the McLaren, who gets a pass on Bradley late on the brakes. Can he swoop across the nose? And does so, locking out Gerald Ferree, gaining a position. Gerald has also switched to dry tires. So Gerald has also taken the opportunity here, gone to dries, feeling that transition starting to come through and see where it's going to go. Unfortunately, lots of drivers for our Rhino utility team, Jacques Ever and Jakob van Lith at this point, but it's starting to show that dries is a viable option. You just got to go through the pain at this point, which I think a lot of the drivers still out on wets are just trying to recover that little bit of time, get that last little bit of life out of these tires. 28 minutes into the race, it's a 45-minute race, and anyone can win. This race is going to be won on the pit stop. That is for certain, but who's going to be able to carry it through? Who's going to continue that climb on the way through? Luke Lucchesi, yet another fastest lap of the race as the track starts to dry out underneath him. Justin Eloff holding second place also under 2 minutes, starting to creep in for most of the drivers out there. Bert Kildeness and Julian Familiaris on top of one another. Yassine Ismail also trying to get the pass on Bradley. Yassine, former driver for the Pandacity team, as far as I'm aware, no longer a Pandacity member, but might be, as he makes a clean pass. No issues there. Got the wet weather tires. But I do think Bradley is just focusing on keeping the cycle going, following the lines, let the track dry out sufficiently to be able to hold the power. Maybe that earlier pit stop is going to work out for him on the way through. So quite a few interesting tactics coming on as we have had a couple of retirements coming in. Jacques Ever, Jakob van Lith, Byron Mitchell, and Willem Pienaar going and running out. We do get reports that Willem Buerta, a bit of an issue happened to him. He was out on wet, running in third place. Did the rear kick out underneath him? Yep, clipped the curb, lost the rear. And that is all she wrote. Not sliding too much again. That tells me the story. Oh, contact as we rejoin with Bert Kildeness and Julian Familiaris. with Kildenace now ahead of Julian. Let's quickly go and take a look at what happened to see how it's gone on. Keeps into the toe, trying to figure out where to go. Bert up on the inside. Julian tries to swing back. Unfortunately, both having a little bit of a slide, a little bit of a tango, and both able to get going, with Julian now able to hold his position back up towards the front. Werner Skuman into the pits, and now trying to get himself sorted out. Now, Werner Skuman did go and have a fantastic lap time. He's now opting to go to dries to try and make up some form of time. As you see, Gerald Ferree and the likes of Bradley have gone to dries. They've now trying to figure out whether the grip is there, and many of the drivers are going to start to look at this. I think we're going to see a lot of drivers considering the option of dry tires. That has to be done. Jurien Piswart with a good lap time. He's out in 4th place, trying to close up to Willem Buerta. Does a 1:58.9 at this point to keep his position. So this is going to be all about the pit stops, folks. Who has taken that gamble to run on wet weather tires and dry tires? Who has done enough in the race to keep going? As we do see Sergei Sarkov making quick work of Gerald Ferree, who just can't get the traction down at the moment, while Sergei around the others. So, I mean, this is just turning into a monstrous. We are getting reports, though, as, Gerald Ferree's gone off, and so does Willem Buerta. Gerald Ferree gone really far off. We are getting reports, unfortunately, that it was a technical fault. That's why the Rhino utility team going and getting caught out. Oh, man, it's quite a blow. As we do see this Gerald Ferree, just kept it out of the wall. Definitely going and counting his lucky stars there. Willem Buerta having the same problem, and this is a loss of position for him, as he had the Porsche. Yet again, that snap oversteer coming into play. Slides out towards, able to keep it, but unfortunately going and getting caught. But we are getting reports, unfortunately, the Rhino utility team having technical failure, and that is why they are out of the race. That's a bit of a blow. I mean, considering the two drivers have been doing a phenomenal job. Jakob van der Ligt going and driving with significant damage to his front, was still powering through nonetheless. And Jacques Evert with a solid go at the front. He has really tried his best all season long, but those mechanical failures that kick in does make life rather difficult. They do have the option, though. Drop rounds at the end of the season takes their worst result and gets rid of that. So this might be that worst result to get dropped away and continue on. Justin Elov setting a faster lap time, though, with a 1:58.51. And Chris going in reiterating the information. Big thank you to Chris out there, long-term driver and supporter here at Raceface.Pro, and especially out here on the iRacing scene. Big fan of the BMWs as well. Can tell you what needs to be done. Paul Gerber into the pit lane for the McLaren. The team try hard. Now starting to figure it out. The one thing with the pit lane, it's very, very wet out there, and you've got to be so careful on the exit. If you do switch out to dries, you're in for a world of hurt, so you have to be very cautious. Now the question is, Gerald Ferree, who's out on dry tires at the moment, is doing a 2-minute 0.5 as his best, but when he got onto those dries, he's now a bit further down than that, as he's done a 2:18. So is it worth going on to those tires? Oh, we are getting reports, though. Gerald Ferree has come off the circuit, and what on earth happened to him? Oh, just the car not working out over the curbs. That's going to be bad luck already to try and keep it going. Finding any bit of dry line and opting out. He was doing so well, though. He was doing so well to keep it going. Unfortunately, goes into pit lane. Hopefully can get that the car sorted out. Maybe switch out the tires, get it onto wets, and get back out, as Luca Chesi goes yet again faster with a 1:58.2. He is battling to slow the car down, though, as we did see a little bit of left and right on the steering as he gets into the braking zone. So Werner Skuman is going to be the bar. He did set a 2-minute 3.0, so he is picking up the pace. But is it going to be enough for the final 10 minutes of the race as the track starts to dry out? or has he left it far too late to go on? Is everyone on wet's going to have the advantage? But I'm battling to see the puddles out there. The times are getting faster. I've got a funny feeling, especially with those dry tires starting to wake up, starting to get going, that we will see them coming into greater effect if they have enough water getting tossed off the circuit. That rooster tail getting less and less and less every step of the way. And these wet weather tires that the drivers are currently on must be suffering. They must be battling with it. And who will be able to continue, as we do see Werner Skuman stop twice so far, going and trying to get himself sorted out. Paul Herber leads out those that have done the pit stops, but Sergei Sarkov, Willem Buerta, Jurian Piswart, Justin Nieloff, and Luke Lucchesi still need to get themselves going. As we are getting reports, though, that Gerald Ferrari is back out on track. That is positive news. Gerald Ferrari back out on track. 0 quit left in, and he's going to keep going. Absolutely well done, Mr. Ferrari. Good to see that, and good to see that you're still putting in the fight, regardless of the conditions. I mean, that is what we love to see, and really, really do support that get up and go. Look, mechanical failures happen, but if you do have the opportunity to get back into the race and get going, you need to throw the hammer down. You need to do it. As Werner Skuman's about to get Julian Familiaris all into the back of him. This is where the grip factor comes in, as Luke Lucchesi, Justin Nieloff are pulled into the pits. Is Jurian Piswart going to pit? No. Willem Buerta gets into pit lane, so he's going to be getting his pit stop done and dusted. Jurian Piswart's going to continue on his drive. He takes over that first place. But take a look. Werner Skuman's holding his own against Julian Familiaris on that last run. Lap times at the moment, Julian doing a 1:59.2, where Werner Skuman last lap time is a 2:02.4. He has improved. It is by a small amount, but it is enough to try and put up that little bit more of a fight as he holds the racing line. Julian Familiaris looks on the inside, can't get the pass done and dusted, as Werner Skuman is giving him the absolute heave-ho at this point, defending his line. Julian sliding the car, and this is what Julian did not want to have with those wet weather tires, is Werner Skuman, who's starting to find that dry line, starting to have that car come underneath him, is going to put Julian fighting out left and right, scrubbing those tires very, very hard, starting to go and weigh them down even further at this point, and landing up with a bit more of a problem. Sergey now into the pits as well to get himself sorted out, try and get that pit stop out of the way. 37 minutes left in this race, well, 37 minutes completed of this race. Still some time to go, and this is turned into a very interesting fight and a good tell of how things are going to work. Paul Herber gains a position. Bert Hildenace, who is on wet weather tires, still trying to make up some time, as Luke Lucchesi, Justin Nieloff, Willem Buerta, all onto dries. They have decided to go onto dries, seeing what the rest of the competitors have now done. This is going to get a bit wild, and you can see Julian is not having a good time out there. He's battling to get any form of drive. This is what the likes of Werner Skuman wants to have the whole way through, as he puts the power down, trying to figure out how it's all going to work out for him. Heading into turn one, he's going to be late on the brakes. Can he go late on the brakes? Werner Skuman looking very, very comfortable versus Julian Familiaris, who's busy screaming around underneath him. That aero wash becoming a little bit of a problem as he fights his way through. On board with Julian, looking left, looking right, down to third gear, down to second, trying to get the undercut. Couldn't really get the power on. He's going to try a little bit earlier, really feeding in the power to see if he can go around the outside. Switches around, goes for the kink, goes for the inside. Hasn't done enough though. Looks like he may have hooked it in. Werner Skuman couldn't put up the fight, but he is going to try to get into it yet again. Around the slipstream, hooked over the curb, looks a bit more comfortable, and really doing everything he can. Julian now needs to try and keep up the pace. Werner Skuman really battling it out to keep himself going and try and find that little bit of momentum. Once he finds that dry line, he will be able to outbrake, outmaneuver, but he has to try and figure out where it's all going to work out for him at this point. It is just tough racing out there. It is an absolute gamble for all. And now Bert Hildenace has said, listen, you've played with Julian enough. it's my turn to rejoin the fight as looks at Bert Kildenay sliding his way through, gets onto the power, really trying to feed it through as it's a 3-horse battle for the likes of 8th, 9th, and 7th position at the moment. And so far, Yuri Umpi-Swart still sticking out on the wet. Paul Gerber is on the wet, so is Sergey, Julian Familiaris, Bert Kildenay, Yasin, and also Gerald Free are on wet. For the dries though, Luke Lucchesi, Justin Elov, Willem Buerta, Werner Skuman, and Bradley Searle are the drivers out there on the dries, and it is starting to work out for them as we do see Werner Skuman up on the inside, gets onto the power, trying to get as much momentum, a drag race down into turn 1 as we do see Werner Skuman getting ahead of Julian Familiaris. Julian, a multiple V8 national champion who's not afraid to put into the fight. Werner Skuman, who is a sim racing fighter, looks to really make his name high up into the gold and will be battling his way through. Bradley also starting to get into the fight. Oh, Bradley, unfortunately, actually loses it. Damn, I saw him so close. But Kildenay all over the back of Julian Familiaris. Julian fighting as hard as he can at this point, as we do have Liam Swinburne, also a new to the iRacing scene, going and looking. He's driven in conditions like this and can tell you it is a nightmare having these wet, dry sort of guessing conditions that you have to battle your way through. Julian doing everything he can. Bert Kildenay trying to figure out where he can go as they get the power down. You know what we're missing, Chris? We're missing a BMW. We need to have a BM just to join the fray, be part of the show. I mean, we've had every manufacturer out here so far as we see Kildenay in the Porsche chasing down Familiaris in the Ford, who is on the back of Werner Skuman in the Ferrari. So far, all the battles have opened up, bar these three, and we're starting to see a little bit of an idea of the dry starting to kick in that little bit more, becoming more of a threat. Gerald Ferrari into the pits yet again to get himself sorted out, as we've got Julian trying to go late on the anchors, try and slide the car out, couldn't quite do it. Kildenay goes and puts a wheel wrong, he's losing out a bit of time, and we did see in the background the likes of Yuri Umpi-Swart, our current leader, trying to fight his way through to make up some time. So we are getting some great action out here, but the track itself is now become dry. This is dry tire season for many of the drivers. Yuri Umpi-Swart pulls into the pits. The question is, has he opened up enough of a gap against Luke Lucchesi? He has not. Here comes Luke Lucchesi to go and gain that position. Gains a few points, does put a wheel outside, and there is Justin Elov out in the Porsche, second place. Willem Buerta will be the next one to keep an eye out for. He runs out a little bit wide. He's trying everything he can as he's got the likes of Yasin as well, just trying to keep on to the back of him. Yasin doing a great job of just keeping it all together. Paul Gerber in fifth, along with Sergei Sarkov. Werner Skuman, who's broken the horse's back of the likes of Julian Familiaris in that Mustang. Bert Kildenay runs in ninth. Yasin Ishmael in 10th. Bradley Searle in 11th, and Gerald Ferrari still out on circuit, lying in 12th. We've so far had 4 retirements, 2 mechanical issues. One is, unfortunately, Byron Mitchell having a mechanical issue as well. That's his retirement, and Willem Pienaar not able to make it to the start of the race. As we now into the dying moments of this, and it's going to be Luke Lucchesi trying to keep himself going at this point. Justin Elov in second. Yuri Umpi-Swart holding third. Championship leaders, might I remind you, first, second, and third are at this point. Willem Buerta trying to figure out where he can go. Paul Gerber hunting down puddles as much as he can to try and cool those tires down as he battles his way through. Sergei Sarkov is still trying to figure out how he can get any more power underneath him. Werner Skuman broken the horse's back there of Julian Familiaris. Kildenay now getting within under a second. Well, it was under a second. He's now 1.6. Unfortunately, going and losing out that little bit of time. But take a look. Those times are dropping like a lead brick. We down to the 154s with Luke Lucchesi. Justin Elov with no off tracks did get the fastest lap time with a 155.14. And that's because the others invalidated their times by putting a wheel off circuit. Well, saying that, Luke Lucchesi says, well, sod you, I'm going to go and do it better. Do a 53.4. That instantly gets beaten out by Justin Elov, trying to close up that gap. did a 1:53.040 as we're into the final moments of this race. Yuri Swart will be going and keeping an eye on the battle ahead, hoping one of them just makes a mistake, that he has some movement in the championship. This is round 7 of 8. This is critical points to score big, and many of these drivers had to roll the dice here at the beautiful circuit of Hungaroring, but unfortunately, by rolling the dice, you have also opened up yourself to a world of hurt, either on the dries during a little bit of a greasy period or going on the wets the full run, and now you are hunting for any water patches. You're going and wishing someone would turn on the sprinklers, would the skies fall down, anything to try and cool down those tires. But at the moment, all looking clear running for our top runners. Luke Lucchesi with a big stride over Justin Nieloff at the moment, but Justin will be bringing home some good points for the championship and will be staying in it for the running order, which is always a great thing to see as Luke goes late on the brakes, tries to get the Porsche all settled. The RDSA Esports really doing everything they can to hold on to the championship. As it stands, he came into this race 4th in the championship. He will score enough points to jump up into 3rd. Justin Nieloff has still got hope for his championship, getting 2nd place and getting ahead of Yuri Swart. Luke Lucchesi gets the win here at Hungaroring. Justin Nieloff will take 2nd place. Yuri Swart. Oh, Yuri's gone off. Yuri has gone off. Willem Buerta has tapped Yuri Swart. He's gone off. He's trying to rejoin. Yuri Swart landed off into the weeds, and that has lost him a position. He's got significant damage to the car. Is Paul Gerber close enough? Unfortunately not. Won't be able to capitalize. But Yuri Swart, who thought he had 3rd, he thought he had enough points in the bag to hold the championship, has now had it all turned on its head as Willem Buerta lets him on by. So Willem does say sorry, lets him on by. He's able to score the points, but man, oh man, that would have been a turn of events, and that would have helped Justin Nieloff. It would have helped Julian Familiaris, but give him his due. Well done, Willem Buerta, for going in, handing the position back, saying, my bad, sorry bud, that happened, and was able to keep going. Sergei Sarkov feeling the pressure from Werner Skuman. Not many corners to go. Werner hoping to get into that top 6. Goes late on the anchors. Sergei slides the car out. A little bit of a nudge between them, but still onto the power. Sergei kicking the rear out. Werner's going to have the drive on the inside. Late on the anchors. Can he get it done? Does so. Gets it late. Stop. Can he keep the power on? And Werner Skuman manages in the final corner to take 6th place. 0.4 of a second ahead of Sergei Sarkov in 7th. Julian Familiaris will come around the circuit, taking 8th place, along with Bert Gildenace will take 9th. Yasin Ishmael takes 10th, Prelisol, followed by Gerald Free. Man, oh man, what a race, what a change-up, what a dive to the line. And man, that could have been the championship. Really turned onto its head. And wow, oh wow, that's all I can say at this beautiful circuit. That being said, guys, we're going to be taking a look at some of the race results on the green for the Hungaroring round 7, as we've had some rather exciting times off the start of the race here for the Hungaroring. I mean, man, no man. Whew, that was a bit wild. Got to catch my breath on that one. Let's take a look at some of the results, though, and find out who's where. Luke Lucchesi will get 1st place with Justin Nieloff in 2nd. Yuri Swart, Werner Skuman, Sergei Sarkov, Julian Familiaris. Yasin Ishmael will go and run a little bit further back. So, a couple of our apologies. There we go. So Luke Lucchesi, Justin Nieloff, Yuri Swart, Willem Buerta, Paul Gerber, Werner Skuman, Sergei Sarkov, Julian Familiaris in 8th, Bert Gildenace in 9th, Yasin Ishmael. Bradley Searle takes 11th. Gerald Faree will take 12th. Sharks Ever and Jakob van Lith, unfortunately, retiring due to mechanical failure. Byron Mitchell, likewise. Villeneuve not able to make it to the line. Will round out in that 16th position. Man, oh man, what a wild time. What an exciting time here at the beautiful circuit of Hungaroring. And good to see so many drivers having a ton of fun out there. But let's see if we can try and have a chat to a couple of the drivers, give us their perspective on how the race went. Starting off with our drivers, we have got the likes of Justin Nieloff, our second place, to come and have a chat to us. So let's bring in Justin Nieloff. Justin, welcome to the commentary box. What a drive on your side. Keeping those championships alive. It could have been a little bit closer, as we did see Yuri Swart have contact and nearly finishing in fourth, but managing to hold on to that third. But the conditions itself made life rather interesting for you.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think this track in the wet is very miserable to drive. You're just waiting a lot for the front to come around. But no, it was a good race. Kept it clean for the most of it. And yeah.
Oh, absolutely great drive through it. And the conditions changing from wet to dry, something a little bit different to what you used to. Take us through that.
Yeah, I think it's, in some ways, we all like dry, cold tracks to drive on. But it was a bit more interesting seeing different people doing different strategies, etc. I'm not actually sure how Yuri got up to the position he did. We were kind of surprised. But yeah, it was good.
Oh, absolutely great stuff. It still keeps you in the championship points alive. It still keeps you going. What's your game plan heading into Spa, the final round in 2 weeks' time?
Drive fast, try to get pole, try to win.
Fair enough. Simple, easy, well, in words, not in practice. Absolutely great stuff. Before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations and enjoy the celebrations with the team, anything you'd like to say to our amazing spectators out there in the virtual grandstands, our amazing partners here at Raceface.Pro, to all the drivers and teams out there?
Yeah, thanks for racing. Thanks for participating. Thanks for hosting the event. It's fun to drive in. Yeah, let's just keep having fun.
That's it. And, well, let's see if you will be able to clinch that win heading into the final round. Winner takes all for the championship.
Yeah, sounds good.
Absolutely great stuff to hear from Justin Nieloff. And you can hear a bit of calm in the voice, which is quite surprising for a driver that's been through 45 minutes of absolutely horrendous conditions, but very close competitive action. Let's bring in our fourth place, Willem Buerter, who nearly had third, but also been one of our most consistent drivers out on track. Willem Buerter, welcome to the commentary box, and definitely wanted to bring you through. You finished in fourth place. You were one of our most consistent drivers in through the conditions. Before we touch on what happened a little bit further on, but take us through your driving experience. I mean, you come from a background that's handling all sorts of conditions in the real motorsport. Now seeing it in some racing where it's wet, it's dry, you got to figure it out. How did you find the conditions?
Oh, look, it was very, very slippery. Like I said, in the practices, I practiced quite a bit, and just like you were driving on X, taking different lines, keep it tight, and just use the curves to get it to turn in. And that's where I found some grip with the wets. And I thought, okay, well, listen, let me just drive my pace and leave Luke and Justin to carry on.
Now, with your experience of the conditions starting to change, what was the moment that you decided, let's switch from the wet tires and get onto the dries? What was that click to take that gamble, to roll the dice and hope that you don't get snake eyes?
Well, like I said, I saw the times were coming down and we were doing like 58s, low 59s. And I thought, well, I think it's ideal time to start trying the slicks. And it wasn't too bad because you could see the dry line forming, and I In the chicane, in the bus stop, I tried the normal dry braking line with the wets, and that's where I saw it's got some grip, because normally with the wets, it doesn't have grip on the racing line there. So I thought, okay, well, that's now time to change as well.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, we've got to also touch on to the end. We saw the slight contact between yourself and Yuri Swart. We also saw the tip of the hat moment where you moved offline, let him get past, and carry on the race. I mean, take us through that. As a driver, we all very, very competitive, looking for that massive gap, that edge on your next competitor. But to be able to take your hat off and say, I'm sorry, let a chap come through, how do you switch your mindset from race mode to friend?
Oh, well, like I said, I caught him, I think on that one lap, I caught him 7 seconds on the lap. And I thought, okay, well, this is now my time. I lost it a few times in the race, and he passed me. And when I caught him, I thought, okay, listen, I'm going to go for him, because I think I've got the drive out the corner there. And he was just snaking a little bit on the exit. And I just saw it too late to go wide, and I just clipped him and helped him a little bit further. And that's when I realized, listen, I was in the wrong. I should have tapped off and have a cleaner race towards the end. And so I thought, well, let him just give me his position back. It's more than fair. He was blocking and whatever, and trying to race.
Well, it's still a epic moment to see, and also a very veteran moment to also see that. Willem, before I let you go, it's not often we get to have you in the commentary box, and I'd love to have you more often coming and chatting to us. But anything you would like to say to our amazing petrol heads out in the virtual grandstands, all the partners here at Raceface, to the drivers, the teams, to even your sponsors out there, and your own race fans, any words that you would like to say? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Luke and Justin for helping me train and getting my racecraft a little bit up more as well. These guys helped me a lot in the test sessions. And to everybody that's watching, enjoying the race, look, it's not easy to race in the wet. Look, I wanted to exit when I saw it was going to be a wet race, because I struggle always. And I thought, well, let me just give this a chance, and I prevailed. I did quite well at the end of the day for myself. So, thank you very much, and thanks for you and Doe and everybody in Raceface. It's very competitive competition, this, and it's nice to race up with the top guys.
Absolutely fantastic. Willem Botha, thank you very much, and an honor to have you in the commentary box. And we look forward to seeing you getting that podium position come around 8 in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Have a nice night.
Absolutely fantastic. Willem Botha of RDSA Esports, gotta love him. But let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, the one that took the victory. Let's bring in Luke Lucchesi. Luke Lucchesi, welcome to the commentary box. And wow, oh wow, what a race. You managed to break away, getting that 2 seconds, but also variable conditions that just changed the entire race for you. How are you feeling after that?
No, good. It was a very tricky race, difficult conditions. You'll turn into a corner and have grip, and then mid-corner it will just wash away.
So definitely...
But yeah, ended up all right, yeah. You got to keep your eyes open.
Great to see the bit of forethought there. Coming into the race, you were lying 4th into the championship. You have now scored enough to get over Julian Familiaris, you into that championship fight, and very, very close to like the Yuri Piswar, Justin Eloff. It is going to be a title fight out there. What's racing through your head now of, well, a podium is on the line?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Umpi is a little bit out of touch. Unless he has a really, really bad race, I think he's going to take it. It's going to be very tight between me and Justin. I think one position, and that will decide P2 in the championship. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I'm taking it one round at a time. So I've got 2 wins now, last 2 races. So yeah, let's just keep the momentum going.
Found your groove, kept going. Always great to see. Out of curiosity, that transition period, when did you feel that, okay, let's switch out from the wets, let's get onto these dries, let's keep going, especially with the pressure that was coming in from behind, with Justin Eloff constantly sitting in your mirrors?
Yeah, look, I had a bit of lap traffic with, I think it was Julian and somebody else. They were obviously having their own battle, so I don't think they took much notice of me. So it took me about a lap to get past them. and I lost quite a lot of time to Justin. He gained, I think, 2 seconds on me. But yeah, look, in the end, it all worked out. I didn't want to push too hard at the end of the race, even though there was the grip. It just wasn't a risk I was willing to take. Justin could take the risk because, you know, he had a big gap behind him. So even if he spun, he'd still finish P2.
Well, always great to see you. Well, before I let you go and enjoy the celebrations, taking yet another win and now into the championship fight, anything you would like to say to all those petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands that sat through the rain, to all the partners out there, to the sponsors on your side, the drivers and the teams, and with your competitors, you can add a little bit of spice. Don't be afraid, but keep it so that there's no swear words, but you can give them a bit of gears. The floor is yours.
We're very friendly with my competitors. I think that's what makes the community so good, is that you know, you can race hard on the circuit and we all remain friends regardless of what happens. But yeah, just a big thanks to my team, you know, all our sponsors, obviously to Doe for organizing the series. You know, without him, you know, nothing would be happening. Big thanks to you for the awesome commentary. It's always good to watch the race back after the race. And then I'd just like to give a shout out to everyone who supports me in the racing, especially my parents who don't miss a stream.
Absolutely great to see. Mr. and Mrs. Lucchese, you've got a brilliant son here that has an opportunity to get some silver brought home. Luke, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us in the box and being a part of the racing. We look forward to seeing what happens in 2 weeks' time out in the final round at Spa-Francorchamps. I think that's going to be a circuit that you've had many, many successes, even in endurance racing here on iRacing around that circuit.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it.
Great stuff. Luke Lucchese of RDSA Esports taking the victory here tonight for round 7 of the Raceface.Pro GT3 Sprint Series here on iRacing. A big shout out to all the sponsors. A big thank you to everyone being a part of the show. Rhino Utility, along with Red Star Raceway, Scallywags Drifting Academy, and here at Raceface. A big thank you to all our competitors and teams that have been such a critical part to the championship, and most importantly, out of everyone that we have to say thank you to is coming week in and week out is our phenomenal spectators. You guys out there in the virtual grandstands that braved the conditions with the drivers and get to see some incredible action. But let us know down in the comments what you would like to see coming up. Who do you think is going to have the opportunity for the championship? And head over to our Discord here at Raceface.Pro, where we do have a voting of what's racing next. Once the championships are over, next week we've got our final round in the BMW M2s versus the supercars. We then have our final round for the GT3s. That will be done and dusted. What is going to be the bi-weekly? Well, the GT3s will be back, but what is going to be there for the BMW M2s and supercars, as they will fall away and another category will be in for the bi-weekly. You get that vote. Head over to our Discord, go down to the iRacing section, and let us know what you want to see. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here at Hungaroring. Enjoy the sunshine, enjoy a bit of dry as we get ready to fly over to Spa-Francorchamps. We also do have the ACC Endurance happening this weekend. Do go head over to Simgrid, log in, be a part of it, go out on Raceface, register your team, and see whether you can survive the 6 hours of Imola racing this weekend, starting on Saturday. And we look forward to some many more actions. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for joining us here, and we'll see you next time right here on Raceface.Pro. And like always, from myself, Stephen Kurdick, wish you a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.